Good evening and welcome to the March 22nd, 2023 East Lansing Planning Commission meeting. Taylor, would you please take the roll?
I will. Chair Sullivan?
Here.
Vice Chair Bowman?
Here.
Commissioner Lapine will be absent tonight. Commissioner Hendricks is currently absent. Commissioner Boyd?
Here.
Commissioner Williams will be absent tonight. Commissioner Denault?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
With 5 commissioners present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Bowman, seconded by Commissioner Denault. Any discussion? No, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. On to item 1.3, approval of the minutes of the March 8th, 2023 commission meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Denault. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. The ayes have it. On to item number 2, committee reports. I don't believe we have any committee reports tonight. So on to item number 3, staff reports. Taylor, take it away.
All right, so at its March 14th, 2023 meeting, so last night, City Council didn't, or 2 weeks ago, City Council did not authorize the city manager to sign the grant agreement to proceed with the WRAP grant, which was what was providing partial funding for the Valley Court Park Pavilion project. So that project has been halted for the moment. At its March 21st meeting, so last night, City Council approved the site plan application for the industrial building at 3400 West Road. And then additionally, the City Council passed a policy resolution 2023-3, which creates a small cell wireless ad hoc committee, which will have 3 members total. 1 member from an organization called CEL, which stands for Citizens Engaged for Livable Locations. A member of the PC designated by the PC, a member of the HDC designated by the HDC. An item was added to the agenda tonight connected to this policy resolution to allow for the commission to discuss a designation to that committee. It's item 8.1. Those are all the reports I have.
Thanks, appreciate it. On to item number 4. Are there any commissioner announcements? Seeing none. Item 5, communications from citizens. I do not believe we received any written communications, although members of the public are free to step forward to discuss the 2 items that are on the agenda or not on the agenda. This is your time to do so. Seeing none, is there anyone in the queue?
Waiting in the queue.
All right. On to item number 6, public hearings. There are none. So item 7, old business. Item 7.1, which is consideration of a cluster development and site plan application to construct 4 3-unit dwellings in the 7.2-acre central area of the Falcon Pointe Development, located west of Chandler Road, south of State Road. Taylor?
All right. So I'll give an overview of what we have tonight. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 8th, 2023 for this site plan application. At its March 8th, 2023 meeting, this application was tabled until tonight, pending the submission of updated plans from the applicant showing the applicant's proposed parking facilities at the southeast corner of Palomino Drive and Thoroughbred Lane. Those additional materials have been submitted and can be found in the packet. If you have the agenda item report itself open, you can find them on page 47. But if you have the entire agenda open, that'll be page 52 is when those begin. But you can see a good image of them on page 57. A draft motion to recommend approval of the site plan to City Council along with its 12 proposed conditions can be found in the packet. As usual, the draft motion is written in affirmative. I'll give a brief overview momentarily of the request and the recommended conditions, but I would like to take this moment to highlight that the Planning Commission may approve or deny the request, and after the motion has been open for discussion, the Commission may amend, add, or remove any of the recommended conditions that are currently listed. So the request before the Commission today, application for a site plan, approval to construct 4 3-unit attached single-story 2-bedroom dwellings, 12 dwellings in total, on the vacant manufacturing housing lots in the center area of Falcon Pointe between Thoroughbred Lane and Halter Lane. The subject property is zoned R2, which is medium density single family residential. These 12 dwellings would add to the previously constructed 120 dwellings of a similar design in the eastern portion of Falcon Pointe. They have proposed to remove a structure covering the mailbox cluster and 8 parking spaces at the northeast corner of Thoroughbred Lane and Quarter Horse Road, and replace it with an uncovered mailbox cluster and a single parallel parking space at the southeast corner of Palomino Drive and Thoroughbred Lane to serve those 12 new units. These can be seen again in those updated plans in the packet. Should the Commission consider recommending approval for the request, the motion is provided in the packet as well. The 12 conditions are fairly standard. They ensure approval is in accordance with the presented site plans, the building elevations, etc., as well as in accordance with previously approved applicable conditions for the site overall, and in accordance with state and local laws and regulations, ensuring that all applicable permits are secured before work can commence. That is what most of the conditions are. The unique condition in this set is the 3rd condition, which is the exact same as previously seen at the March 8th meeting, requiring the installation of the 8 parking spaces at the relocated mailbox cluster. This is the condition that will have to be removed or amended should the Planning Commission wish to accept their proposed new parking facilities in their updated plans. So it is written currently as it was previously. Should the updated plans be what the preferred route, that condition will need to be either removed or amended, just to be clear. I'm happy to answer all questions. The applicant is here tonight as well to answer any further questions about their specific request or application or updated plans.
Thanks for the overview, Taylor. Are there any questions from commissioners? Vice Chair?
Just to clarify, did you say that if well, actually, let's start. The modified information regarding the parallel parking spaces, does that meet with the parking requirements that the city has established for, because we're reducing it from the proposed was 8 or something like that down to 1?
Yeah.
Does that meet with city standards? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so if indeed that's found to be acceptable, did you say that an additional condition would be added, or is there one that specifically addresses that?
You would just remove the 3rd condition.
Thank you.
Which would accept the updated plans as they stand.
Okay, I was reading. It was funny. I was reading back up to the top and I didn't see it, so I stopped.
Apology.
Thank you.
Yep. So should you wish to accept the updated plans as they are, then you can simply remove that condition when the motion is up for discussion.
Okay. And staff takes no exception to this modification?
No.
Okay.
Taylor, is there sidewalk access to the mailboxes there?
To the mailbox?
Yeah.
No, not within the facility, not within the development. Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Taylor? Commissioner Boyd?
Maybe we have to have them speak, but do we know why, or is there a reason behind why they're taking the building down that's covering the mailbox clusters? And it looks like they're relocating them?
Part of the Falcon Pointe Development. The reason for removing that building was previously there for the mobile home development many years ago. So right now it doesn't house anything. It does house a couple, but it's not really used. So it was mainly built for the entirety of the park, and now that we're only having 12 units or 12 postal boxes in a cluster, to build a whole structure around that didn't really seem to make much sense.
It looks like they're just going to be matching the rest of the mailbox clusters in the whole development.
Correct. Yep.
I didn't know if it was a security issue or not because he has walls around it.
Yeah, I was actually just over there. It's really just been there forever. So.
Great. Any other questions for Taylor? If not, I'll just have you stay up there. Oh.
Yeah, my question was for the applicant.
Okay.
So.
I think we'll move on to questions for you all then. Go ahead.
At our last meeting, there were a couple of commissioners, including myself, who just felt a little bit uneasy about going ahead and approving the application without y'all here to address some of the resident concerns that we heard that in that February 8th meeting. Oh my gosh, it seems so long ago. And so I just wondered if you could speak to some of those resident concerns and assure us that, right, these are, that
Yeah.
you're going to continue to being good landowners and not landlords, but stewards. Thank you.
So from that first meeting and had heard what the residents have said and requested, we took that feedback and we've delivered them all 1-year-long leases, and they've been delivered. So we haven't heard any feedback, but yeah, we took that and delivered what we thought was recommended, and put them to ease. So yeah.
And I know that has really nothing to do with us, I think these are two separate issues, right? Like approving your site plan and the resident concerns.
But they're
I
neighbors
really,
of ours, and happy neighbors
Exactly.
makes a good community. So,
yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
of course.
Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
I have more of a comment. I mean, I'm of the same mind, Chelsea. It's hard for me. I mean, I understand our purview here as a planning commission, but it's hard for me to also support a business that makes East Lansing residents housing insecure. And it seemed like they had a lot of complaints and a lot of issues that weren't addressed until they came here and made everything public. I can't imagine getting a eviction notice stuck on my door. So what happens after a year? Is it?
Well, that's just a standard lease.
Okay.
Up until now, it's just been month to month.
Right.
And there was really no reason for not giving them a lease. It was a standard, just month to month to month. So, and then once that letter went out, it kind of raised concerns of those residents, and having now understood whose homes those were, the age, and so on and so forth, we obviously are no longer proceeding with that. And then having heard them and their situations, they requested a more than just a month to month, but a year-long lease. So yeah, that's kind of the reasoning, or that is the reason.
Okay.
Were those leases in place about 2 weeks ago?
We just sent them out.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm just noting that unless this gentleman here is from that group, there was nobody here at our last meeting to express any additional concerns, and I'm just curious if perhaps that's because.
We in addition to that, there was one of the parties that was selling their home. We did purchase their home.
Okay.
So they were, that's been settled as well. I know they were kind of in a sticky situation. They were renting but also owning this,
Right.
so we came to an agreement. So.
All right.
Any other comments or questions, commissioners? All right. Just one from me. So for where the mailboxes are at, is that intended to be just for this area, or if you expand to the north, would they share those mailboxes, or would they get their own mailboxes, or how would that work?
Well, yeah, these are only for those 12.
Okay, so the mailboxes that are in this proposal are only going to be intended for these, and if you do expand down the line, you're not going to use the same mailbox for, which I think could get a little bit tight given that there's only 2 parking spots there.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, there's no intention to expand, so it's really just for those 12 units.
Okay, and then just to kind of piggyback off of the comments here and the comments I had at the last meeting. So it's good to hear that you're continuing conversations with the neighboring property owners. I'm glad to hear that. I haven't heard anything from them since the last meeting, so I don't know exactly what their situation is, whether they're going to take their concerns to council, and they understood kind of that purview perspective that we have on just the planning component of this. But I will say, I think that these units are a good fit for the community. I think it's a good project for that particular site with the vacant land there. So I'm hopeful that these can come to fruition, and also that the neighbors to the north there can continue having discussions with you, and hopefully something is ultimately resolved, whether it's an extension of the lease or purchasing of the property, or I'm not aware of all the options that are available. But yeah, so that's my perspective on it. I don't know if there are any other questions before. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion in order?
I'm actually, by point of order, do we not actually have a motion, an active motion?
Oh, good point.
And I was the one that made that motion, and Commissioner Hendricks, I believe, but my parliamentary skills were tested at our last meeting, and I failed. Commissioner Hendricks seconded that motion. Of course, he's not in attendance here this evening. So I'm curious. Basically, it was just we moved to postpone to a date certain. That date has arrived. We've we're taking the matter up again with the previous motion still being active.
Good point. I think we have to revise the motion anyways because there's one of the conditions we have to strike.
So we can vote. So then there'll be a. Go ahead. Yes, I believe you're correct.
So I think we need to make a motion to strike the previous motion and then make a new motion with revised conditions.
Or we could amend the current motion if that's your intention.
I'm amenable to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can actually amend my own motion. I should know.
Is there a
so much
motion
better.
to amend Vice Chair Bowman's
If the
motion?
Since we're discussing, my intention would have been to strike condition number 3. So right now, the current motion reads to have all 12 of the conditions that are in place remain in place. But as Ms. Van Winkle has told us, that if condition 3 is removed, then the project could proceed with the revised site plan as opposed to the one that was presented last month.
Is there a motion to repeat all of what he just said?
I'll step out on a parliamentary limb and say, Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend the motion to strike condition number 3 so that there would be only 11 conditions, renumbered obviously, but 3 will be removed so as to permit the applicant to proceed with the current site plan. And that's my motion to amend.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Boyd. Is there any discussion? Well, I've said what I wanted to say, so seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so 4 ayes, 1 pass. Is that?
Yep.
Give it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, the motion prevails.
Quorum of the present.
All right, so I think we can move on to item.
Now we need to vote on the main motion.
Oh, need to vote on it. Okay, I thought that was the main motion. Okay, now is there a motion to vote on this?
Again, that
Item
motion's
7.1?
But the person that seconded it is not currently in attendance.
He usually shows
I'm
up
sorry,
a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would submit that would be no different if somebody seconded the motion and I had to leave the meeting. As long as we still have a quorum, we could probably still proceed. This is really getting picky, I know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we just
Which
voted on the
happens.
motion.
That
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion for moving or recommending or denying, or recommending the entire proposal to council? Seeing none, all those in favor, vote aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstaining? Okay, so that is 4 ayes, 1 abstain, and the motion carries, so that is referred to council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the technical issues. I almost think that you guys did that to me on purpose, but anyways, on to item 8.1, which is designation of a planning commissioner to the Small Cell Wireless Ad Hoc Committee, as stated in a policy resolution 2023-3. Taylor, would you like to give an overview of this?
I can. So, yes, at last night's meeting, March 21st meeting, City Council approved the policy resolution 2023-3. And that created the Small Cell Wireless Ad Hoc Committee. This committee is going to be composed, as I said previously, by three members. The first one, who's already been designated as a representative of Cell, Brian Loomis. He presented last night to council in the public comment period. And then a member of this body, and then a member of the HDC. So the purpose of the ad hoc committee itself is to explore potential guidelines or ordinances regarding small cell facility construction. And that is the outlined action by Kit City Council. It's not necessarily to pass any or achieve any, just simply to guide the construction of some ordinances.
Any questions for Taylor?
Sorry, I didn't quite get the goal of this committee.
The goal is to explore potential guidelines and ordinances regarding small cell facility construction. It's only the committee is aimed at developing potential guidelines for small cell facility construction. So that is the small cell 5G towers that's been in discussion at City Council several times. Several companies themselves have come and spoken to the public as well over the last months or so. In terms of detailed information about the 5G stuff itself, I would refer you to our Department of Public Works. They can give you more information. And I don't have that detailed information, but yeah.
And do you know how often this committee will meet, or how long this subcommittee will be?
It is stated to exist until the City Council says it doesn't exist anymore. So there's no end date on it currently.
Just to clarify, the map that I've seen, could you refresh me? The neighborhoods that are impacted by the current proposal are, I believe, Oakwood, Glencairn, Chesterfield Hills, and Bailey. Were there more?
They're mostly oriented around that, the downtown area. There's some in the Flower Pot neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Down there. There's some along Hagedorn as well. Yeah, there's I didn't pull it up, the map itself. But you're correct in that it's Bailey, Oakwood, Glencairn, along the northern.
So Taylor, you're not going to give us an overview of all things 5G and technology aspect.
I will have to defer that overview itself. If you have any other questions, they're the companies themselves. Peter's talked several times about it, so he was the one who knew more about what was going on with this. And he spoke, about it several times, but it's primarily oriented at expanding the availability of 5G through the use of the public right-of-ways. And they're primarily utilizing existing utility poles as opposed to implementing their own, but there is the possibility of them putting in their own utility poles as well.
Yeah, it's
Giant boxes on top of them, right?
They do have boxes, yes. Yeah.
it is interesting looking at the language here. So there's no deadline or there's no date that council's looking for as far as a recommendation.
Nope.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware.
So, and I'm not overly familiar with CEL. So they're a group that has concerns about.
Yes, he spoke last night, and his concerns are primarily oriented towards the health considerations that these 5G facilities will impact, how they will impact the local communities, and the health impacts. Primarily that it hasn't been studied, those specific impacts of those specific technologies on communities. So there's an aspect of the unknown for 5 cell towers specifically, as opposed to general cell towers.
Okay, and then as far as the composition of the committee, is there any rhyme or reason to the 3 members that were selected?
So citizens engaged for livable locations. I don't know much about him personally, about his background, but Planning Commission is primarily being able to give advice on ordinances, guidelines towards the use of the spaces and how they will impact the community's character, things like that. The Historic District Commission, the information that I have on that is that the Historic District Commission ordinance is specifically highlighted in the 2018 bill that the state has. So there's a specific language referring to Historic District Commission guidelines for small cell facilities. So I believe that that person will be able to offer guidance on developing language that incorporates Historic District Commission values and preservation guidelines into any potential citywide telecommunications ordinance that it ends up being perhaps recommended.
Right, to make sure that the 5G small cell wireless facilities are historically accurate for the
Yes.
historically appropriate, yeah, for the community.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any additional questions. Are there any questions, comments from commissioners? Is there any interest amongst commissioners for this committee?
I cannot. As much as fun as I had on the last committee, the CBDG, I can't. I don't have
I
time.
have to say, I thought you were leaning in that direction, but
No. sorry.
no, okay.
I was hoping that Commissioner Lapine, who lives in the Bailey neighborhood, might be willing to take this responsibility on. But unfortunately, she's not here, so I don't know that appointing her would be at all appropriate. I don't believe that it requires a. I believe that.
A willing person?
No, yeah, that too, but.
Sorry.
If it requires a vote of the Planning Commission, or if it's just an appointment that could be made by the chair.
It just says to be designated by the Planning Commission. Would it be?
That probably requires a vote then.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable with the vote.
Yeah.
I think it's easy enough.
I mean, is this something that we could potentially table until our next meeting when perhaps we have more commissioners?
Yes, there's not a timeline when this needs to be activated.
Two related questions. Have they determined the time when they're likely to meet for the first time? And related to that, when does the Historic District Commission meet again?
The Historic
Probably
District.
tomorrow.
The Historic District meets in April
Oh, that's
is
not
the next
so far
meeting.
away. Okay.
Historic District meets on April 13th. The second Thursdays of the month is when the Historic District meets. I can get more information about when it will begin and how often they'll meet and the frequency and the length and duration of the committee meetings. I can definitely return with that information.
So when's the next planning commission? Is it on the 12th, Taylor?
The next Planning Commission is on the 12th, yes.
Okay. I think we need a motion to postpone this to the 12th then, if that is the desire.
Yeah, it's
Or-
just for discussion.
Just be silent. So, okay, so we will see this agenda item on the 12th then. All right, is there any other comments before we move on?
I just bring that up because I don't want to delay the process, but if the Historic District Commission's not going to meet before then anyway, it'll give us some time to see if Commissioner Lapine might be interested.
And I appreciate we were able to have some discussion on it tonight. I mean, it was only just last night that, you know,
And it was
it was
passed.
approved by council. So I think it's appropriate that we have, you know,
Yep.
a regular period to review this.
It brings up, I just thought of another question. Did Mr. Loomis suggest, I mean, he's saying that there's that the impact of these particular towers is not known. I actually know Mr. Loomis personally, and he's an IT professional. Did he give any indication that when the impacts might ultimately be known, if there's some studies underway, or if there's, just curious if that came up, that he said that's not currently known, but is there something that's being, undertaken in order to determine what the impact might be?
No, but I can certainly look into it.
Okay. I can call it too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, on to item number 9, commissioner concerns. Seeing none, I believe a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Denault. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we are adjourned at 7:32 p.m.